Hello ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies, in-betweeners and old Bill. My name's Dan and welcome back to another PAP Reports. It's Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020 and today we're starting with Thames Valley Police and a misconduct hearing for Detective Sergeant Susan Brown. Brown has been accused of stealing from a shop, allegedly taking two things without paying for them intentionally on October the 21st, 2016. Almost 3 years later, on April 23, 2019, Brown failed to disclose the details of the police contact about the incident when she was completing a vetting form in an application to move to another department of the force. The hearing is currently taking place and is expected to come to a conclusion on Thursday. The accusations, if proven, would be considered as gross misconduct, meaning she could be fired and placed on the police barred list. Well, we've all seen it, so-called frontline emergency workers dancing and prancing around on TikTok videos plastered and shared all over the internet. Now, the videos get quite a mixed response from some people, enjoying and cheering those frontline emergency workers on, to others who, in my opinion, quite rightly want to know exactly how they find the time to choreograph and rehearse these routines. Because let's face it, they don't just make the decision and do it, they need to get these dance routines pinned down. These videos have been shared by NHS staff and the police more than any other emergency workers. Well, finally, only after a month or more of allowing it, the police have decided that police taking part in the online dance craze is sending the wrong message to the public, and those taking part may face misconduct charges. Police chiefs claim their online antics are inappropriate when Britain is in the grip of a deadly COVID-19 outbreak. Gavin Stevens, the National Police Lead for Digital Engagement, said from a National Police Chiefs Council point of view, particularly through COVID, we're not encouraging people to take part in dancing, rapping, TikTok challenges. Chief Constable Andy Cook of my local police force, Merseyside, added that the force holds clear policies about standards of behaviour, including the inappropriate use of social media, and anything which breaches these standards would be subject to potential disciplinary proceedings. Echoing my own thoughts, Philip Lee, a London-based geriatrician, who tweeted, "I don't want to be a killjoy. Dressing up in full PPE and doing a dance on TikTok might be great for morale, but have you considered how it might look to someone whose family member just died of COVID-19 in your hospital and they haven't even been allowed to visit?" One woman, who claimed her brother and sister both worked in the health service, said, "I'm seriously pissed off seeing NHS staff dancing and falling about. It's so disrespectful when there are so many ill and dying." Now, personally, I have no problem with them doing it outside work in their own time. But if this pandemic is as bad as we're being led to believe, how exactly are they finding the time, both the police and the NHS, to choreograph these videos when there are either so many people needing medical attention, or when the police could be spending that time catching up on crimes they've put off or revisiting crimes they've yet to solve? The most incredible thing for me is the amount of empty beds and wards in the hospitals and the amount of PPE being wasted, but also the fact that the police are trying to show a human side by making the videos, but as soon as they interact with a member of the public, they seem to forget that they're human and almost immediately act in a manner that loses any respect they might have gleaned from their dance routines. In PAP Reports on the 29th of April, I spoke about how North Yorkshire Police had been told off by highways officials that they had committed an offence by blocking a footpath to the entrance of the old North Yorkshire Police headquarters. Well, as we would all expect, North Yorkshire Police has dismissed the claims that they have committed an offence. In fact, they now say that they had secured the grounds of its former headquarters near North Allerton to safeguard residents from encountering dangers such as a pond close to the claimed right of way. I mean, isn't it so good of the police to consider the public welfare? Maybe they should eliminate the psychopathic cops from the force if they really want to protect us from danger. Council Highways officers said it is an offence to obstruct a public right of way, and enforcement action can be taken by the Highway Authority to remove any obstruction. The force, which has been trying to sell the former headquarters since 2016, hopes to sell to children's holiday firm PGL, which has proposed removal of access to the path. The force is understood to be contesting an application by residents to have the path designated as a public right-of-way. A police spokeswoman said the council's statement about the path being blocked had only been advisory and the fence did not form part of the main gateway entrance. She said, whilst we understand the concerns of local residents about this claimed right-of-way, the decision was taken to secure the private site of Newby Wisk Hall in order to protect the public from a number of health and safety hazards which are present there, including a body of water. We have a responsibility to keep the public safe and felt that such a large site could pose significant risks. Whilst North Yorkshire County Council recommends that where a claimed right-of-way exists, it should be regarded in the same way as an existing public right-of-way, this is only a recommendation and is not based on law. Well, don't you like to do things based on recommendation rather than law? Accordingly, no offences have been committed by securing the site. I wonder who to believe, the council highways officials who know what they're talking about, or the police who simply get briefed on laws rather than actually understand them themselves. David Stockport of Newby Wisk Action Group said the force had initially claimed that the fence was for security, but it has been shown the majority of the site, including the pond beside the hall's boundary, has little or no security with broken or missing fencing. He said now their story has changed, it is no longer for security, but now they laughingly claim health and safety grounds to protect members of the public from injury. Could these be the same members of the public who have been managing to use the path for over 30 years without any incident? I would think it's the same members of the public that paid for the building. Perhaps if they really cared about the health and safety of local residents, they would allow the path to be reopened for local people to exercise during these troubled times. No matter how many different excuses they try to come up with, they can't get away from the fact that they have erected the fence in breach of planning law and are now trying to ignore highways laws as well. This is nothing to do with health and safety, it is about misplaced pride and arrogance. And do you expect anything else from the police? Nigel Farage is in hot water after being visited by police for breaching lockdown rules by travelling to Dover to report on migrants illegally entering the country. According to Mr Farage, police on Monday night knocked on his door to advise him about the current guidelines that are in place across the UK amid the coronavirus outbreak. This comes just a week after police were inundated with complaints over a separate breach when he travelled to East Sussex. Mr Farage wrote on Twitter, "Lockdown lunacy. 2 police officers just knocked on my door to advise me on essential travel. They had received a complaint that I had been to Dover to report on illegal migrant scandal taking place. What a total waste of time and money." It comes after Mr Farage in a video for his YouTube channel said East Sussex police last week were bombarded by complaints that I'd broken the lockdown. In the video he explained that he had been carrying out broadcasting duties and described himself as a key worker. Well, Nigel, the government hasn't given key worker status to all reporters over all news. The key worker status for reporters and journalists is for those covering coronavirus news. So you could have added into your report that you were concerned about the entry of illegal immigrants who may be carrying the virus who could then go on to spread it. That way, you would have been a key worker. I'd have thought you of all people would have done your research on that. Police are investigating an alleged assault after the family of Mustafa Farooque claimed he was attacked by prison officers in his cell in HMP Liverpool. Mustafa Farooque from Bradford is serving a 4-year sentence for a violent road rage incident during which he twice threatened motorists with an imitation handgun. He is said to have a suspected fractured cheekbone and bruising to his stomach and back, along with grazing to his legs. Farooque was also found to have held racial abuse at an off-duty female police constable after he had driven his BMW erratically in queuing traffic and brandishing the imitation handgun on another occasion. Now, don't get me wrong, clearly I'm not supporting what he did, but if one of the people he threatened kicked the crap out, crappity crap. Don't get me wrong, I'm not supporting what he did, and if one of the people he threatened kicked the crap out of him, I would be on their side. But if you're in care of a prison, you shouldn't be getting attacked by those entrusted with your care. So For those of you who are going to say he deserved it, you're probably right, but it should have come from other inmates, not the prison guards. His family said the 36-year-old had turned over a new leaf and found religion since those incidents that saw him locked up in 2018. Found religion? Well, let's just hope it's a religion that he found himself and researched properly, rather than a religion he has been misinformed about by other inmates. A spokeswoman for Merseyside Police said, "We can confirm a report was received of an alleged assault at HMP Liverpool on Wednesday 24th of April. An investigation is ongoing to establish the full circumstances." A prison service spokesman said it would be inappropriate to comment during an ongoing police investigation. Details of the alleged incident emerged just days after the Council of Europe's Committee for the Prevention of Torture, the CPT, released a report citing the infliction of unjustified violence by staff on prisoners at the Walton facility. A man in Walsall, West Midlands, has been forced to sleep in a church doorway after being illegally kicked out of his flat. The man spent several weeks sleeping rough on the streets of Blockwich and in the doorway of All Saints Church after his landlord wrongly refused him access to the property he was renting. The man, who has not been named, was able to return to his flat last weekend after police apparently stepped in to help, warning landlords that they would take action if the legal eviction process was not followed, which clearly makes a change from them assisting unlawful evictions or other unlawful civil matters. A spokesman for Blockwich Police tweeted, "Over the weekend, the team has helped a homeless man get back into accommodation he was renting after he was illegally refused access by the landlord. The man has been seen sleeping in the doorway of All Saints Church and on the street for several weeks. He has now enjoyed 2 nights' sleep back in his flat and hopefully his health will improve. We work with Walsall Council to ensure all tenants are treated appropriately according to the law and when necessary prosecute offenders. We know the vast majority of our landlords are kind and professional people. For the minority who abuse their tenants' rights, we will step in. There is a legal process for evictions which must be followed. Illegal eviction is a criminal offence." So let me be the first to say, well done West Midlands Police. This is what you should be doing, rather than persecuting the homeless. Remember, this is part of what you are here for, and if you keep it up, along with sacking police constables that assault the public, you might be able to regain some of that lost respect. Wirral Council is said to have sacrificed almost £12 million to ensure care workers are paid the real living wage and vital frontline care services are supported through the pandemic. For information, the real living wage stands at £9.30, whereas the national minimum wage stands at £8.72 for those aged 25 and over, and just £8.20 for 21 to 24-year-olds. The council is said to have now committed to funding the pay rise for the whole financial year. I mean, they call it a pay rise, but how is it actually a pay rise if it's the real living wage? Shouldn't all people be on a real living wage already or equivalent? Clearly this shows the national minimum wage is not enough to live on, but yet many people have to simply suck it up and struggle. Wirral Council has been praised for some of the more radical steps it has taken to protect its residents from the impact of the pandemic. The authority's self-employed support scheme was the first of its kind in the country and won praise on the Martin Lewis's Money Show on ITV1. Leader of Wirral Council, Councillor Pat Hackett, said, "This latest boost for care workers is another sign of our determination to help those on the front line of tackling coronavirus. We've been committed from the outset of this pandemic to working closely with the care sector in Wirral, supporting them in every way we can, including the vital financial help they need." He says, "I'm pleased that Wirral has taken the leading role in making sure care workers in our borough are recognised and helped." I mean, look, I get that we're being told that care workers are having a hard time right now. I mean, I have my own views on that, but that's not for these reports. What upsets me is that everyone is important all of the time, and the money being used to give the boost to care workers is ultimately going to affect others, normally us, the general public, because the council certainly wouldn't take a pay cut to help, would they? They wouldn't want to leave their comfort zones and have to take cuts that affect them. So it falls to us. We're the ones that will see reduced quality somewhere in order to carry out this move. I mean, I'm disgusted that the real living wage is more than the national minimum wage, although we know the national minimum wage isn't a living wage anyway. But to have it reported and to say that the local authority is going to allow care workers to earn a living wage while others have to struggle seems a bit of a kick in the teeth. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. An independent report conducted by the Independent Domestic Abuse Services has revealed that family courts are forcing victims of abuse back into close contact with and proximity with their abusers. The study, commissioned by Julia Mulligan, the Police and Crime Commissioner for North Yorkshire, found that while there are good people with good intentions working day in, day out to help survivors, all too often the system itself is causing trauma and stress and forcing them back into close proximity with their abusers after they have taken the difficult and brave steps of leaving abusive partners. The report says that while the intention is always to protect domestic abuse survivors and their children, it can often be a source of further stress and anxiety. 61% said they did not feel safe in family courts, and half said they were not prepared for the experience. The system is sometimes deliberately used by perpetrators to inflict trauma on their victims, employing its traditional and often complex procedures for their own ends, with former partners trying to exert control over survivors using a family court as a weapon in their abuse. Limited access to legal support is having a detrimental impact upon people's access to justice and to the safeguarding of children. Nationally, there should be an independent inquiry into the family court and its associated stakeholders. Locally, partners should agree data which can be obtained and shared to provide an insight into the effectiveness of the safeguarding of survivors and the children involved in family court proceedings, so that improvements can be made. Nationally, a nationwide system for recording and flagging protective orders to improve safeguarding of victims and survivors and enable police to more effectively respond to breaches should be implemented. Goes on to say that opportunities to support survivors and their families are being missed because key information and data is not shared by those involved in the system, meaning there should be more support for people attending court, including legal aid and litigants in person, and that nationally the government must ensure women and children are supported to get the legal aid they need to access justice. Locally, that could include developing a network of pro bono solicitors for particularly vulnerable survivors. A statement from Julia Mulligan, North Yorkshire's Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, said, "This much needed and well written report lifts the lid on the complexities and challenges in the system, seeking feedback from those who have found it a struggle. Not everyone has experienced these challenges, and indeed the family courts, CAFCAS, support services and others do work well together to keep children protected and individuals safe. However, collectively we need to be honest about those times when men, women and children feel let down and failed by the system, albeit more often than not, women are mostly impacted. I'm grateful for the feedback and conversations that took place during the drafting of this report and look forward to an open and constructive conversation about how we can collectively improve here in York and North Yorkshire as well as more widely. The recommendations do make it clear that measures need to be taken and we need to think about how we can make positive change as quickly as possible. Some recommendations in the report are national and therefore somewhat out of our hands directly, but that shouldn't stop us adding our voices to those already calling for change. In joining together to make our local improvements, I am confident we all share the same goal, which is to protect children and families as best we possibly can. A statement from Sarah Hills, Chief Executive of IDAS, said, "Many of the people we support tell us that family court proceedings can leave them feeling unsafe and worried about having to facilitate contact between their children and abusive ex-partner. The funding for this review provided the opportunity for us to work closely with victims and survivors and also our partners involved in the family court to understand these views and concerns. It also provided the opportunity for us to consider actions and recommendations for improvements to the operation of the courts locally and to improve the support victims receive through the court process. Over the coming months and years, further work will take place in collaboration with local partners to improve the safeguarding of victims, survivors and their children going through the family courts. In York and North Yorkshire, this will mean that we have the opportunity to pioneer new ways of working that will help offer the safety and protection that victims so need. Big thank you to channel Patreon supporters. Your support is truly, truly appreciated. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.
Good night, all.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.